a very important decision to make because our state is at a critical point, and I believe that our next governor needs to have some very special experience. First and foremost, we need a governor who has government experience. We see what happens when you send someone to Washington and they have no government experience. So I'm very pleased to be able to bring my 12 years as Secretary of the State, where I had the opportunity to work in a bipartisan way with our state legislature to transform our voting system, to work with our U.S. Congress, to bring $33 million to pay for our new voting machines. So I'm proud of the work that I've done to register voters, to register thousands of businesses, to help small businesses create thousands of jobs for our state. Also, I think our next leader has to be someone with heavy-duty private sector business experience. So I've spent the last 8 years helping more than 80 companies get access to $80 million, and they've created thousands of jobs as a result. So here are some of the insights that I have into what we need to do to fix our economy and move our state forward. One, first and foremost, we need to pass a budget that is fair, that's balanced. We need to do it in a bipartisan way, and we need to work in a collaborative fashion. You know, I knocked on thousands of doors in central Connecticut last year because I thought I might be running for the state senate, and people told me, we send people to Hartford, why can't they just do their job and make a budget? It's hard to bring businesses to Connecticut, and it's hard for businesses to invest if we don't have a government that works. So priority number one, pass a budget. Priority number two, help small businesses that are homegrown to Connecticut. That's what I'm passionate about. I'll give you one example of one thing I helped a client do. I had a manufacturing client in West Haven, Connecticut. They had 10 full-time employees. I helped them get $400,000 in loan and grant money. 3 years later, they had 88 good-paying manufacturing jobs for Connecticut. That's what we ought to be doing instead of giving corporate welfare to GE and Pfizer that leave us anyway. Priority number three, invest in our infrastructure. Have a transportation lockbox. You're going to see that on the ballot. Vote for that because we need to use DMV fees. We need to use gas tax revenue and toll revenue, which I support. We should join the other 42 states in the country that have tolls and invest in our infrastructure because that is going to create thousands of good-paying jobs and spur further economic development in our state, which we desperately need. Priority number four, make sure that our community colleges and our state colleges and universities are partnering with our businesses so that our young people know when they get their advanced manufacturing degree at a community college or they get their engineering degree at UConn, they have a good paying job waiting for them when they get out. That will keep our young people in Connecticut. Finally, what can we do to uplift every family in our state? A couple of speakers have talked about it. Very simple. Pass a pay equity bill so that women can make dollar for dollar what men make. That will uplift every family in the state. How do we do it? Very simple. Pass a bill, just like Delaware and Massachusetts have done, that does a simple thing. Prohibits employers from asking what you made at your last job because that institutionalizes discrimination against women and people of color. Next to passing a balanced budget, that is my top priority for Connecticut because it will help every family in our state. So finally, what do we need in a governor besides government experience, private sector experience? We need someone like Ella Grasso. And Lois and I, Lois Eli, are you here? We were talking about, oh, there you are, Lois. Such a pleasure to work with you. We were talking about Ella Grasso. So I wrote a book about Ella Grasso, the first woman governor elected in her own right in the state. And she was faced with a very similar situation. When she took office in 1975, there was a huge deficit. Sounds kind of small now, it was $500 million, right? And she was able to get through it because she was a person of great compassion. She was the child of immigrants. She grew up in Windsor Locks. She was a mom. She cared for her elderly parents. She got what families across the state of Connecticut are going through. She also had an economics background, a degree from Mount Holyoke. She had financial acumen. She was Secretary of the State. She had government experience in the United States Congress. She was tough. She used all of those tools to get our state out of the big mess that it was in. So you have to ask yourself, and I'm so proud to be amongst some very smart and talented candidates, but ask yourself, who understands what working families in Connecticut are going through, who has the compassion and the toughness to get us out of this mess? And finally, because we're all Democrats, or there are a few other people of taste and discernment who might have joined us, who can help us win? You have fantastic legislative candidates. We need a leader who can help us win across the state, because it's a critical point. 18-18 margin in the state Senate. Norm, we need you. We have a small margin in the House, but that could go away because some people are retiring. Christine, we need you. So who's the best person who is best poised to lead us to victory? I'm unique amongst all the candidates, Democrat or Republican, because I'm the only one that has won statewide by large margins 3 times before. And we can't just win in the big cities, although we need to do that. We have to win in small towns across the state, in Chester, in Haddam, in Deep River, in Essex, and I have a record of doing that as well. And I look forward to working with you so that we can all win together for our state. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. And yes, if that bill comes to my desk, I will sign it. I remember that same bill in Judiciary when I was on that committee back in the day. Melissa?
Yes. As somebody who's been in government for many, many years, and also somebody who's an attorney, we have many attorneys actually in the Senate. I was just wondering, though, what would you think about having a full-time legislature where you could have actually normal people, no offense, actually join and work full-time instead of just for 3 months?
I am so glad you asked that question because I was in the House of Representatives before I was Secretary of the State, and in my second term, I was made a committee chair, and I felt very honored, but that was like taking on a full-time job. It was very difficult. Now, in Connecticut, we have the 11th highest number of women legislators across the country. Why is that? Is it because we're so progressive, we're so smart, we're so blue? Some people think it's because our legislators are paid amongst the lowest in the country, okay? I think we should pay our legislators better and make it a full-time job because honestly, as I look at Paul Doyle and William Tong, I know that they spend most of their day being legislators and, oh yeah, they have another job. And it's very hard to balance both, especially if you're not a lawyer in private practice. I hear you. Well, it's so nice.